The game has launched, first drafts have been made, and now it's time to get into the nitty gritty of the FPL preseason. So, who's going to be saving us in FPL? Let's find out. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of FPL Hall or Nothing. It is Friday, July 19th. My name is Ewan. On today's episode, we're going to get into a goalkeeper preview, kind of an early preseason goalkeeper preview. Might revisit this at some point, but it will be evergreen content throughout the preseason. So if you're listening later than July 19th, should still work for you unless there are some massive injuries like we have actually already had at the goalkeeper position, which is surprising. Verbruggen for Brighton is expected to be out 6 weeks. So come on down, Jason Steele, once again in FPL. We will see if he makes the top 5. The kind of agenda for today's episode is going to be go through each price bracket, 5.5, 5 million, 4.5. Kind of just lay out the stats, and then at the end of the episode, I'm going to give you my top 5 rankings. So if you don't have enough time, skip ahead in the timestamps below. And while you're there, like and subscribe to the channel. We are putting out a lot of content here. Got just under a month until the game week 1 deadline. So stick around for all the FPL content. And if you can't get enough of some visual content, you can read all of my stuff on rotoballer.com, where I'm putting out team previews with the rest of the gang, Jamie, Brandon, Wale, Tommy, all the way over there on rotoballer.com. So check that out in the description below as well for our team previews, positional previews, and then our regular game week by game week content. And it's also on podcast, FPL Hall or Nothing. So check it out there on Apple or Spotify. Any ratings or reviews on there are welcome as well. So once that preamble is all over with, let's just get right into it here with the 5.5 million goalkeepers. We've got David Raya, Ederson, Allison, and Ortega. I touched on this yesterday in the game launch kind of first draft episode that I did, but Ortega is the same price as Ederson because there are these rumors that Ederson may move to Saudi. We haven't really seen any Fabrizio Romano, here we go tweets yet. Not that that's the end all be all of anything, but Ederson has been linked with Saudi, so the game has priced Ortega at 5.5 million as well, as the Man City keeper should be worth 5.5 million no matter what. As we can see here, I've got points, clean sheets, save points for the season, and then there's upcoming schedule for the first 8 game weeks. And 8 game weeks for a goalkeeper is probably a good kind of barometer, measuring stick, just because we don't want to be making goalkeeper transfers. So we do want to, or we want to have someone in net that's going to stick around for a while. So we don't want to kind of be mixing and matching. I know there's going to be a ton of goalkeeper rotation tweets and content coming out over the next 4 weeks, but it's not for me. I usually play a lot better if I just have one goalkeeper and I just kind of stick them in there, and it works out for me the best. And for what it's worth, in the 3 seasons that I've been playing FPL, where you can see my ranks right here below, 3 top 100K finishes, 5K finish last season, I have never, ever had a 5.5 million goalkeeper in my squad because it is just so much money to commit to a position that really gets you 1, 2, or 6 points. Yes, if there's a clean sheet, they're more likely to be in the bonus, but sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. So David Raya, Ederson, Allison, and Ortega here, 5.5 million. Raya led the way last season with 135 points, 16 clean sheets, but only 5 save points across the season. I think he played 35 games. Maybe he didn't play game week 1, and he couldn't play the 2 Brentford games because he was on loan from there. But now he's made the switch permanent, so he should have 38 starts. But Arsenal's schedule over the first 8 game weeks is the 4th toughest in FPL. So we really are looking at a 2 or 6 kind of ceiling for David Raya. Ederson here, 112 points, 11 clean sheets, only 10 save points on the season. Meant that you have the 5th toughest schedule across the first 8 game weeks. Allison had a down season, 107 points. That's I think I looked it up earlier. It was a pretty near the bottom of his FPL career so far. Only 8 clean sheets for the Liverpool goalkeeper. Was injured a couple of times last season. 19 save points, though. The Reds are quite leaky at the back, and they have the second easiest schedule coming into the first 8 game weeks of the season. As you can see on the screen here, you can join my FPL league Z695WK. Join me, FPL Hall or Nothing. See how we all get on for the course of the season. But back to Allison here, 107 points, 8 clean sheets. I expect that number to go up. Liverpool should not be as sloppy at the back. I think they will tighten it up a little bit. It kind of cost them down the stretch last season as they were challenging for the title, but 19 save points is good. So the thing about goalkeepers is you want them to not have an incredible defense, but you don't want them to have such a bad defense that they can't defend at all. It's kind of this delicate balance you have at the goalkeeper position because you want them to face shots to get those save points, but you don't want them to really concede. So you want that like kind of low like XG per shot kind of metric that we can get into in another episode here. But for Allison, he's the most likely of these 4 keepers to face a lot of shots, as Arsenal and Man City really do know how to shut up shop. And Allison has the second easiest schedule over the first 8 weeks. So I think he would be my pick here among the 5.5 million keepers. However, like I was saying earlier, I have never had a 5.5 million goalkeeper in my FPL team. 5 million keepers here. We've got 6 here. So I should have said this at the top. This is going to cover the 17 non-promoted teams, so the 17 teams from last season that survived in the Premier League. This will cover all of their goalkeepers. And then in the promoted pod is when I will kind of get into it. It just gives me more time to kind of research the promoted teams, as I have not gotten to that yet. So at the 5 million price bracket, it's Pickford, Leno, Onana, Martinez, Vicario, and Nick Pope. Remember him? Yes, he suffered an injury early last season and was out for the rest of the year. I think it was a dislocated shoulder. And that's kind of where his season went downward there. But 5 million, Newcastle, not in Europe. The last season that they weren't in Europe, they were spectacular, and Nick Pope was incredible. They have the third easiest schedule coming along here, and Nick Pope kept 6 clean sheets in his limited starts last season, along with 9 save points. So Nick Pope, don't forget about him. Newcastle could be making moves in the transfer market. I think they've already picked up a couple of goalkeepers. They have a ton of goalkeepers there. They got Dubravka as well. But if Nick Pope is good to go, he should easily be in our FPL thoughts heading into game week 1 deadline, which is Friday, August 16th, as you can see right there, 6:30 p.m. UK time, 1:30 p.m. USA Eastern. Pickford led the entire position with 153 points last season, 13 clean sheets, 29 save points, and the 7th easiest schedule from game week 1 to game week 8. And that's kind of the perfect balance that I was just talking about there. Everton, not an incredible defense. Sean Dyche likes to play Sean Dyche ball, so kind of batten down the hatches and just kind of keep it clean and hopefully nab a goal, which seems to work out more often than not for him. And the 7th easiest schedule. So they're not going to play anyone too hard. They're not going to play anyone too easy. So Pickford is also in there at the 5 million point price bracket. Leno, 133 points, tied with Onana, 133. 10 clean sheets for Leno, 9 clean sheets for Onana, but 37 save points for Onana last season. Man United conceded the most shots in the league last season. They have that'll be the 8th hardest schedule over the first 8 game weeks, but which is not bad. That's like kind of in that range as well. I would say anywhere from like 6th to 14th on the schedule here is kind of prime idea. And Man United are already investing in their defense again. They just picked up this 18-year-old from Lille who kind of snubbed Real Madrid for them. So I'm assuming he's going to be straight in the starting lineup there, getting those starts. Lisandro Martinez is going to come back. It's also going to be Onana's second season in the Premier League. So he should be more used to kind of the speed and what kind of he has to bring to the table to make him perform as well as he did for Inter Milan a couple of seasons ago. So Onana is also in my thoughts. Emi Martinez here, 115 points, 8 clean sheets, 20 save points last year. And Aston Villa has the easiest schedule over the first 8 game weeks. However, they do play in Europe. And that's not gonna, like, cause Emi Martinez to get rotated or whatever, but that can wear on a team, especially a team like Newcastle last season that we saw, and it could be happening to Aston Villa this season, where a team that hasn't really played in Europe all that often, while they made a deep run in the Europa Conference League last year, it's a little bit different when you're instead of going to Steaua Bucharest on a Thursday night, you're going to the Bernabeu on a Tuesday. Like, that is the kind of step up in competition. So it will be interesting to see how Aston Villa handles that, as they are kind of a very new team to Europe, kind of one of the less established English teams in Europe, I would say. So we'll see how that affects their defense. They have beefed up their defense a little bit this season, bringing in Ian Matson. They should be getting healthier here as well along the back line. So it'll be interesting to see where Aston Villa goes. Vicario for Spurs, 112 points last season, 7 clean sheets, 24 save points, and the seventh hardest schedule over the first 8 game weeks. And I said this yesterday in the game launch first draft episode that I was watching the highlights of that Spurs Hearts game. Spurs looked fantastic in attack, and people would be like, well, they just played Hearts. And I would agree. And then I saw how many chances Hearts had versus Spurs, and I'd be like, that's Hearts. Like, that's not great. So Spurs still very leaky at the back. So I don't think Vicario will be in my thoughts here. So out of these 6 goalkeepers, I could see myself picking between Pickford, Onana, and Pope, I would say, among the 5 million keepers. 4.5 million keepers here. So there are 8 keepers here. There's 4 on this slide, 4 on the next slide. If you're listening to the podcast side, tune over to the YouTube channel to see all the fancy graphics or whatever. So on the first slide here, I've got Flecken, Areola, Neto, and Sa. Flecken, 119 points, 7 clean sheets, 29 save points, and he has the second toughest schedule over the first 8 game weeks here. Areola, 116 points, 4 clean sheets last season, took over for Fabianski at some point, and was pretty much the FPL equivalent of Jekyll and Hyde. Just when everyone was on him, he was terrible. And whenever it was off them, he would get like a 15-point haul. I think there was a game against Chelsea where he like saved a penalty and just all this stuff. 39 save points for Areola in limited starts last season. Still quite impressive. But they have the 6th toughest schedule over the first 8 game weeks, and I don't trust West Ham's defense at all. Neto for Bournemouth here, pictured on the left, 110 points, 7 clean sheets, 26 save points. They've got the 10th toughest schedule over the first 8 game weeks, so that's right in that sweet spot that I was talking about. Bournemouth were pretty up and down. They went through like really good patches where they looked pretty unstoppable at times, and then there were times where it's like, what's going on at Bournemouth? So we'll have to see how they look in the preseason, if they make any signings. And Jose Sa down here for Wolves, 107 points, 4 clean sheets, 33 save points, but Wolves have the toughest schedule over the first 8 game weeks. So I don't think anyone is going near any Wolves assets when it comes to Sa, Neto, Nuri, Cunha, all that stuff. I think Wolves are off the menu for the first couple of months in FPL. Going to the next batch of 4.5 million goalkeepers here, I've selected Petrovic over Sanchez, and that's kind of up for debate. I don't know where the new Chelsea manager is going to go with his goalkeeper, so I just put Petrovic in here. He had 71 points last season, 5 clean sheets, 18 save points. Chelsea has the 9th toughest schedule over the first 8 game weeks. I've got Johnston here, assuming he nails the job at Crystal Palace as well. 116 points, 6 clean sheets, 7 save points, and Crystal Palace has the 4th easiest schedule over the first 8 game weeks. Jason Steele, 110 points, 2 clean sheets, 8 save points. He can't have had 110 points. That must be wrong there. But Brighton has the 3rd toughest schedule over the first 8 game weeks as well. So we will see how that goes. I think I just have not edited those points down there. So Johnson, Steele, and Sells, they do not have the correct points on this graphic. However, they are below 71. I know that for a fact, below Petrovic. So Steele had 2 clean sheets, 8 save points in limited starts for him in the 2023-2024 season. 3rd toughest schedule, though. Sells here, 1 clean sheet, 7 save points, and Nottingham Forest have the ninth easiest schedule in FPL. Out of these guys, probably Petrovic is what I would be looking at with Chelsea. It's kind of in that sweet spot that I was talking about again. If he can get the starts, that would be great. But in terms of like safety, you really don't want to risk having a goalkeeper that may get rotated. That's why Steele, it sounds like Verbruggen's going to be out 6 weeks. So Steele will probably get replaced within the first 2 or 3 game weeks of the season. So that's a no go. I can't imagine going with a Nottingham Forest goalkeeper either. And Johnston, I think he was in my first draft that I did yesterday, but we'll see. There could be a lot of assets at Crystal Palace that I might like. So taking up one of those three valuable spots with a goalkeeper is not ideal. Here are the top 5 goalkeepers that I am kind of looking at among the keepers that I mentioned today. So I've got Neto, Pickford, Petrovic, Onana, and Martinez. Neto here, 4.5 million up top. He's got Forest on the road, Newcastle at home, Everton, Chelsea, Liverpool, Southampton, Leicester, and Arsenal in his first 8. So pretty up and down, probably like a goalkeeper rotation candidate if you'd like to go there with your FPL thoughts. Pickford here at 5 million, pretty nice. Brighton at home, Tottenham, Bournemouth, Villa, Leicester, Crystal Palace, Newcastle, and Ipswich. Also up and down, but just one of those like kind of set and forget guys. You don't have to worry about him. Sometimes he'll get 2 points, sometimes he'll get 9 points. You just kind of ride the highs, ride the lows, and you kind of know what you're going to get with Jordan Pickford. Petrovic, that I just talked about here, Man City at home opening game is far from ideal, especially when I think that game last season was 4-4. So you probably don't want to start with a Chelsea goalkeeper. However, right after that, Wolves, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton, Nottingham Forest, and then Liverpool. So game week 1, game week 8, not great. Everything in between there, fantastic. So if we get confirmation that Petrovic is going to be the starting keeper at Chelsea, he is definitely going to be on the menu. Onana here, 5 million. Fulham, Brighton, Liverpool, Southampton, Crystal Palace, Tottenham, Aston Villa, Brentford. A little bit of a mixed bag there as well. However, Man United probably bringing the same system with Eric Ten Hag. So I'm assuming they're going to concede maybe not as many shots because the defense will be better. But even if they got more shots, it should be like less XG producing shots. So Onana can still bag some of those save points. And then Martinez here, 5 million. West Ham, Arsenal, Leicester, Everton, Wolves, Ipswich, Man United, and Fulham. So I've got 3 5 million keepers on there, 2 4.5 million keepers on this top 5 list here. As you can see, no 5.5 million keeper for me. If I was going to go with one, I would probably go with Allison, just because Liverpool are going to give up quite a few shots, quite a few chances, and he regularly bails out the Anfield back line there with his fantastic shot stopping ability. And if I had to pick one that I'm leaning towards here, I mean, it's only been 24 hours since I released the draft podcast episode on the YouTube channel. I think I would switch over to Pickford right now. I had Verbruggen and Johnston in there, but yeah, Pickford, kind of looking at the stats, kind of just thinking about the fact is that for Neto and for Pickford, for Bournemouth and Everton, I don't see myself tripling up on those teams at any point this season. It would have to take pretty big swings in performance, like from historical performances over the last couple of seasons, for those teams to really get like a triple up, or like they both have to have like a double game week or something like that. Petrovic for Chelsea, there's definitely room for 3 assets from there, and Cuckoo and Palmer right off the bat. Maybe Nico Jackson enters the conversation. So Petrovic would be taking up the 3rd slot there. Onana, same deal at Man United. Whoever comes along in the attack, you got Bruno, you got Rashford, Garnacho, Hoyland, Dallo, Martinez. So also kind of taking up a valuable spot. And then maybe I should have put Martinez above Petrovic and Onana, because Aston Villa has a lot of assets that I'm interested in, but maybe not as many as I will be about Chelsea or Man United. I mean, you've got Ollie Watkins, Maatsen, Konza. Right off the bat, there's going to be plenty of value with like Leon Bailey as well. if he can stay healthy and kind of nail down a starting spot in that Aston Villa starting 11 as well. So, yeah, maybe Pickford and Neto. That's where I'm leaning right now with the goalkeeper preview. It is July 19th, so there's 4 weeks today will be the game week 1 deadline, and there will be plenty of content coming out of the FPL All or Nothing YouTube channel. Stick around for all of that. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast, wherever you are listening or watching. But have a good weekend. There'll be more position previews coming out next week, over the next couple of weeks. I got a lot of work stuff going on, so the content will be out at inconsistent times, but it will be out regardless. But once again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a good weekend of tinkering with your FPL drafts, and I will talk to you next time.